Did the Terminator secretly reveal the birth of Skynet and then erase the evidence from the final cut? For 40 years, fans thought Sarah Connor's stormy ending was the whole story. But a deleted Cyberdyne scene changes everything. It suggests the machine sent back to kill John Connor may have accidentally created the very future it came from. Now, to be clear, this ending was not banned by a government censor. It was banned from the version audiences saw, cut from the final film, hidden from the theatrical ending, and later rediscovered by fans who realized it changed the entire franchise. The Terminator was never just a killer robot movie. That is the mistake people make. On the surface, it is simple. A waitress is hunted by a machine from the future, a soldier is sent back to protect her, and the entire fate of humanity depends on whether she survives one impossible night. But underneath all the gunfire, explosions, and cold metal, James Cameron was building something much more disturbing. He was building a trap. Not a trap for Sarah Connor, a trap for time itself. The ending audiences saw in 1984 is legendary because it refuses to comfort you. Kyle Reese is dead. The Terminator is crushed. Sarah has survived. But there is no victory music that makes everything feel safe. Instead, Sarah drives into Mexico, pregnant with John Connor, recording tapes for the son who will one day lead mankind against the machines. A boy takes her photograph. She buys it. And suddenly we realize this is the same photograph Kyle carried in the future. That final moment is already chilling. The loop has closed. Kyle fell in love with a woman because of a photograph that exists because Kyle went back in time. John Connor exists because he sends his own father into the past. Sarah becomes the legend because the future comes back to attack her before she even understands who she is. But the deleted ending went even further, and once you know what was removed, the final factory scene becomes much more terrifying. In the theatrical version, the factory where Sarah crushes the Terminator feels like a random industrial place. It is cold, mechanical, full of sparks and machines. The perfect place for a human woman to fight an inhuman creature. But in the deleted version, that factory was not random at all. It was Cyberdyne Systems. That single reveal changes the entire meaning of the movie. Sarah and Kyle had already talked about stopping Cyberdyne before Skynet could ever exist. In other words, the first film almost contained the seed of the no fate idea before Terminator 2 made it famous. Sarah was not just trying to run. She was already beginning to think like a warrior. She wanted to hit the future before the future could hit her, but she never gets the chance. The Terminator keeps coming. Kyle dies. Sarah barely survives. The machine is crushed in the hydraulic press. And then, in the deleted ending, company men discover the wreckage. Not police, not soldiers, not scientists who understand the horror. Just people working inside the company that will one day help build the very nightmare humanity is trying to prevent. They find pieces of the Terminator, the damaged CPU, the severed arm, the impossible evidence. And here is the part that makes the deleted ending so disturbing. Sarah Connor did not just survive the Terminator. She may have unknowingly delivered its remains to the company that would build Judgment Day. That is the hidden truth inside the deleted ending. Skynet sends a machine back to erase Sarah Connor, but when the mission fails, the machine leaves behind something even more dangerous than violence. Proof. Proof that future technology exists. Proof that metal, code, and artificial intelligence can evolve beyond anything humans have built. And once Cyberdyne gets that proof, the story is no longer just about a woman surviving one night. It becomes about a company turning a nightmare into research. And it makes the title, The Terminator, feel different. The machine does not only terminate people, it terminates certainty. It kills the idea that history is clean. It destroys the comfort of cause and effect. Because in this story, the future is not waiting ahead of us. The future is reaching backward, leaving pieces of itself behind. and daring humanity to pick them up. That is why this deleted ending is so powerful. It turns the final battle into a crime scene. Look at the factory again. The machines are grinding. The lights are harsh. Sarah is crawling, bleeding, terrified, and exhausted. She crushes the Terminator with everything she has left. The red eye fades. The monster is finally dead. For 1 second, the audience breathes, but with the deleted Cyberdyne ending in mind, that relief becomes poison, because the most dangerous part of the Terminator is not its gun. It is not its strength. It is not even its ability to keep moving after its flesh burns away. The most dangerous part is what remains after it dies. That is what makes the scene so human. Cyberdyne does not see a warning. It sees research. It does not see the end of the world. It sees a breakthrough. That is the real villain hiding behind the metal skull. Human curiosity without wisdom. Corporate ambition without conscience. The belief that every discovery must be used. Every weapon must be studied. Every warning must be turned into profit. And according to Cameron, cutting that Cyberdyne material was not a mistake. It actually protected the first movie. The idea was too big, too revealing, and too sequel-shaping to waste in a final minute. By removing it, he kept the Terminator lean and terrifying, then used the same buried idea to make Terminator 2 feel inevitable. This is why James Cameron was right to remove the scene. If that Cyberdyne reveal had stayed in the first film, it would have explained too much too soon. The theatrical ending is cleaner, sharper, more mythic. Sarah driving into the storm works because it leaves us with dread instead of answers. We do not need a boardroom. We do not need men in suits. We do not need a sign on the wall telling us where the sequel is going. We only need the storm. But the deleted ending did not disappear. It waited, and 7 years later, it came back as the beating heart of Terminator 2, Judgment Day. That is what makes this hidden ending so fascinating after more than 40 years. It was not just a discarded scene. It was the franchise's buried skeleton. In Terminator 2, we finally meet Miles Dyson, the brilliant Cyberdyne scientist who does not know he is building the road to human extinction. He is not evil. That is what makes him terrifying. He is not a villain twisting his mustache in a lab. He is a decent man, a family man, a genius, someone who believes he is helping the world. And that is the horror. The apocalypse is not built by monsters. It is built by people who think they are improving tomorrow. Dyson's work gives the deleted ending its final payoff. The thing Sarah tried to destroy becomes the thing Cyberdyne tries to understand. The chip, the arm, the metal evidence of a future war. In the sequel, Sarah Connor understands what that means before almost anyone else does. She is no longer the frightened waitress from the first film. She is a woman who has stared into the machinery of fate and decided to fight it with her bare hands. That is why the deleted ending matters. It connects Sarah's survival to Sarah's transformation. In the first film, she runs from the future. In the deleted material, she starts thinking about attacking the future. In the second film, she becomes the future's greatest threat, and suddenly, everything feels connected. Kyle Reese was not just protecting Sarah. He was carrying the emotional weight of a world that had already burned. Sarah was not just a target. She was the mother of resistance. The Terminator was not just a killer. It was a delivery system for the very technology that could doom mankind. The deleted ending makes the first film darker because it removes the comfort of victory. Without that scene, Sarah wins the night. With that scene, Sarah wins the night. But humanity may still lose the century. That is the kind of ending Hollywood usually fears. Not because it is too violent, not because it is too shocking, but because it is too fatalistic. It tells the audience that even when the hero survives, the system may still absorb the monster, study it, copy it, and make the next nightmare bigger. That is why calling it banned works as a dramatic idea. Not because some censor locked it away, but because the movie itself rejected it from the final cut. It was banned from the theatrical ending, removed from the version that became legend, hidden in the shadows until fans began discovering how much larger the original design really was. And maybe that made the scene more powerful, because now it feels like forbidden knowledge. Once you learn about the Cyberdyne ending, you cannot unsee it. The factory is no longer just the place where the Terminator dies. It becomes the birthplace of Skynet. The hydraulic press is no longer just a weapon. It becomes a broken cradle. The crushed machine is no longer evidence of Sarah's victory. It becomes evidence for the scientists who will build the future war. The irony is brutal. Skynet tries to erase John Connor. Instead, it creates John Connor. Skynet sends a machine to stop the resistance. Instead, that machine may help create Skynet. The future attacks the past. The past studies the attack, and the attack becomes the future. That is the terrifying elegance of the Terminator. It is not just about whether Sarah can escape a killer. It is about whether anyone can escape a loop. Every choice seems to push the characters closer to the very future they are trying to avoid. Kyle's love creates John. The Terminator's failure creates Cyberdyne's breakthrough. Sarah's survival creates the legend that inspires the resistance. The machine loses the battle, but time keeps the war alive. And that is why the hidden ending still matters more than most deleted scenes in movie history. Most deleted scenes are extra details. A longer conversation, a slower moment, a joke that did not land. But this one changes the entire architecture of the franchise. It takes the Terminator from a brutal survival thriller and turns it into a closed-circle tragedy. It says the apocalypse was not just predicted, it was manufactured by the attempt to prevent it. That is the kind of idea that sticks under your skin, because it is not only science fiction, it feels painfully human. How many disasters begin with someone saying, "We can control this"? How many weapons begin as research? How many warnings are ignored because the profit looks too tempting? The deleted ending works because it turns Skynet from a distant evil computer into something much closer and more uncomfortable. A human mistake, a human temptation, a human hand reaching down to pick up the wrong piece of metal. So when Sarah drives into the storm at the end of the theatrical cut, that image becomes even more haunting. She thinks the storm is ahead of her, but the deleted ending tells us part of it may already be behind her, inside that factory, inside a lab, inside a locked room where men are staring at broken machine parts and imagining the future. And that is the final cruelty. The Terminator did not need to walk away from that factory. It had already done something worse. It left humanity a sample of the future, and humanity, being human, could not resist studying it. That is why this ending was better hidden than shown. The theatrical version gives us the myth. The deleted version gives us the mechanism. One gives us Sarah Connor becoming a legend. The other shows how legends are trapped by systems bigger than themselves. Together, they make the Terminator feel almost perfect. A nightmare that ends with a storm. A victory that carries a curse. A machine that dies but still gets copied. More than 40 years later, fans still talk about the ending that was cut because it reveals the cruelest truth in the entire franchise. Sometimes the monster does not need to win. Sometimes it only needs to be found. Because once Cyberdyne found what was left of the Terminator, Judgment Day was no longer just a prophecy. It was a project, and the future was already under construction.